In Genesis 37 through 50, God snapped. Y'all, tell me why I found out your biggest haters be your family. Because why were they was hating on my boy Joseph's jacket? But let me rewind, because sometimes we have fake people showing fake love to us, straight up to our face. But let me catch y'all up. So Joseph was the favorite son, like the favorite. And y'all, his daddy Jacob didn't even try to hide it, because he had two wives. Well, technically, he got tricked into marrying sisters, but he really liked Joseph, mama, so that's why he was the favorite. Messy. But anyways, so y'all, he hooked Joseph up with a custom designer coat with a whole bunch of colors. It was giving luxury quarter zips while his brothers were rocking Walmart hand-me-downs. So y'all, his brothers were us. Boy, don't let that coat get your head knocked in. They couldn't stand him. So y'all, one day Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers while they were working. But y'all, they see him coming from a mile away because his coat is blinding them in the sunlight. They were like, here comes daddy's little prince, and why he ain't working with us? We gotta get rid of him. And just like that, they snatched their own brother up and threw him in a pit and was about to kill him. But then he's dead. So y'all, when some merchants rolled through, they were like, hey, y'all need another servant? Y'all tell me why they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. Then they made this man take the jacket off and they dipped it in goat's blood and ripped it up. Y'all, then they turned into actors. They ran home and go and say, Daddy, Daddy. Oh no. We found this jacket. Doesn't it look like it belongs to Joseph? Jacob looked at the coat like, Lord, not my favorite son done went home to be with the Lord. An animal must have got him. You just know the brothers were all sitting at Joseph's memorial being fake. Fast forward. Joseph ends up getting sold to a big shot Egyptian named Potiphar. So y'all, he out here working in Potiphar's house doing his best. So Potiphar trusted Joseph because Joseph didn't complain. He was literally out here handling all Potiphar's business. But y'all, here's where it gets Tyler Perry. Potiphar's wife notices Joseph cleaning and listen. Joseph was fine. So sis was like, hey, Jojo, you fix pipes? Joseph was like, ma'am, I work for your husband. But y'all, sis wasn't trying to hear none of that. So one day, she reversed me to him and straight up grabs him like, come here, Pooh. Like a real man of God, Joseph ran. Y'all, he got away so fast, all this lady was left holding on to was his coats in her hands. This man in these coats. But anyways, instead of being embarrassed, tell me why sis gonna lie to her husband Potiphar and gonna say, baby, pimp down, I'm in distress. Joseph tried to attack me. And y'all, just like that Joseph, an innocent man ended up in prison. I ain't gonna lie, if I was Joseph by now, I would've lost it. Cause how God gonna give my man a dream about being exalted and he gets sent into not only a pit, but now prison? Nope. Somebody needs to see these hands. But y'all, Joseph played it cool when God wasn't done. So y'all, Joseph was in jail for being... Y'all tell me why he ended up running the whole prison like it was a Fortune 500 company. The warden literally put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners. Joseph went from being locked up to being the manager of Cell Block C. Y'all, one day two of Pharaoh's boys get locked up, the cupbearer and the baker. Now y'all, the Bible didn't say exactly what they did, but apparently Pharaoh was big mad at both of them. Some think there might have been a plot to poison Pharaoh, maybe in the wine or the bread, and they were the prime suspects. So Pharaoh was like, both of y'all going to jail until I figure this out. Anyways, they both ended up in prison. This is Try Bible Stories with Tam Watts, the story of Joseph to be continued. Y'all, welcome to Trap Bible Stories. This is part 2 of Joseph and his hating brothers. But let me catch y'all up because Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery and he went from a pit to prison. And now he's running care of them while they were locked up. But then both of them started having wild dreams. Joseph was like, y'all good? Why you look like that? They were like, bro, we had these crazy dreams and nobody can tell us what they mean. So y'all, Joseph's like, God got the answers. Tell me the dreams. The cupbearer was like, I saw a vine with 3 branches, vine like nothing ever happened. And don't forget your boy when you're back in the palace. Hook me up. Then the baker was like, what mind me? I had 3 baskets of bread on my head, but birds were eating it. Y'all, why Joseph hit him with the hope? Joseph's like, you really want to know? The baker was like, yeah. So y'all, Joseph gonna say, yeah. So in 3 days, Pharaoh's gonna murk you and the birds are gonna eat your body. R.I.P. my homie. The baker was, bro. And guess what, y'all? Both dreams came true. The cupbearer got his job back and the baker became a homie. But y'all, here's the thing. The cupbearer forgot about Joseph. He left my boy Jojo sitting in jail for 2 years. Fast forward, Pharaoh started to have crazy dreams about cows and grain. Nobody could figure it out and Pharaoh was stressed. That's when the cupbearer gonna say, oh, I know somebody who can interpret dreams. There's this dude I met in jail, Joseph. Pharaoh's like, bring him here, right? Yo. When Joseph heard Pharaoh wanted to meet him, tell me why he cleaned himself, shaved, and changed his clothes. Anyways, y'all, Jojo walks in. And y'all immediately, the Pharaoh's like, can you explain my dream? Joseph's like, hold on, partner. I can't, but God can. So Pharaoh says there were 7 fat cows getting eaten by 7 skinny cows and 7 healthy heads of grain getting swallowed by 7 dried up ones. So Joseph was like, okay, God, what this mean? Then he said, the 7 fat cows and healthy grain are 7 years of abundance. The 7 skinny cows and dried up grain are 7 years of famine. You need to save during the good years so you don't starve during the bad ones. Pharaoh was like, ninja, for real? Jojo was like, yep. So guess what the Pharaoh did, y'all? He told Joseph to be in charge, y'all. Just like that, Joseph went from prison to second in command of all of Egypt. So y'all, those 7 years of famine came just like Joseph said, and out of every way, Egypt was the only place with food. People from all over were pulling up to buy grain because they were starving. They were so desperate, they started trading their livestock, their land, and even themselves just to get food. Y'all, Egypt became so rich that Pharaoh ended up owning pretty much everything because of Joseph. Everybody was popping up to the palace to get food, and guess who else showed up? Joseph's brothers. Y'all, they walked in and Joseph recognized them, but y'all, they didn't recognize him because, you know, he glowed up. But Joseph, oh, he was like, ain't this something? So y'all, Joseph was like, where y'all from? And they were like, we're from Canaan and we just here to buy food. But y'all, Joseph wasn't letting them off easy though. He hit them with, nah, y'all spies, you came to see where Egypt's weak spots are. So y'all, they started panicking. They were like, no, wait, hold on now, baby. We're just 12 brothers, sons of one man. Well, there's only 10 of us here. One brother's gone. And the youngest is back home with Pops. Can y'all imagine, Jojo? He's the same dudes who sold him into slavery. His mom or his dad, and he missed years with his family, but y'all, Joseph played it cool. Joseph was like, well, y'all ain't getting no more food until you bring back your youngest brother to prove your story. And in the middle of every word talking about, this is all our fault. We're being punished for what we did to Joseph. And y'all, Joseph had to step out because he was so emotional. He walked out, cried, and came back like, all right, y'all take your grain and go. When they came back with Benjamin, the new favorite son, Joseph threw a whole feast for them, but he had to know if they'd really changed since they sold him for 20 silver coins like a discount item on Black Friday. So during dinner, Joseph hid his silver cup in Benjamin's sack to see if they'd abandon him too. So y'all, Joseph let them leave, but sent his steward to chase them down. When the steward pulled up on them, he was like, which one of y'all stole my master's silver cup? The brothers were offended. Judah was like, what? We would never. If you find it on any of us, kill that man and the rest of us will be his slaves. But the steward was like, so now the brothers start panicking because now they're like, not us losing daddy's second favorite son. So y'all, they went back to Joseph begging and pleading with Joseph like, boo, please, we can't go back to our daddy without Benjamin. It would kill him. Judah was like, take me as your slave instead. Just let him go, please. And y'all, that's when Joseph couldn't take it anymore. He sent all the workers out of the room and broke down crying like, y'all, it's me, Joseph. The brother y'all sold, his brothers were like, and y'all, they were immediately terrified because they knew how dirty they treated them. But y'all, unlike me, Joseph wasn't even mad. He told them, don't be afraid. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. He sent me here to save lives. Y'all, Joseph could have snapped. He could have sent him to jail, sold him into slavery, or let him starve, but he didn't. He brought the whole family to Egypt and not just saved the entire family from starving, but all the countries who came to Egypt. Moral of the story, Joseph had every reason to be bitter. Years in jail, betrayal, missing his family and losing his mom, but he chose forgiveness over revenge and he trusted that God had a bigger plan even when life didn't make sense. And sometimes the people who try to bury you Don't realize you're a seed. God will use the same ones who tried to take you out to elevate you. Your pain, your prison, and your pit is still a part of your purpose, so in every season, walk in faith. Anyways, now go read it for yourself. Genesis 37 through 50. This is Trap Bible Stories with Tam Watts.